Time for another video. Oh no, you're not one of those bag dippers, are you? Yeah, it doesn't matter. I don't care. Right, anyway. Before I jump into the stuff that I'm doing in this video, which is over here, I need to get a quick photo of where I think the steering wheel needs to go. Because the seat, which originally would be sitting around here, oh, shit. This is where it would be. You drive it like this. It's quite funny really when you think. I'm actually putting the seats quite a bit further back. Going to be getting in the way of the wheel well. Worry about all of that stuff later on. But when it's all the way back. So it looks like this image with Mr. Austin in it, and you know, he's driving around like this. The steering wheel's all the way over here. I think the steering wheel's about there. It's way too far away, so we need to bring the steering wheel back a bit. Not all the way back, like proper racer Austin 7s are probably over here or something, I don't know. I don't know where it goes, but we're going, the gear stick, that's a whole other kettle of worms, that's going over here, but if it's the steering wheel, just need to work out the angle so I can think ahead a little bit later on, but I've only got that much to get in and out of the car. Oh, I could weld the doors. Yeah, that's the thing. In the last video, I modified the back axle and it's kind of just like opened up a whole kettle of worms because the precedence for this project has gone a little bit further. So yeah, I'm basically going full down the sleeper chummy and there needs to be quite a few changes to make that happen. So the first thing we're going to do is a dry build of the axle. I need to make sure that all of the shims and stuff are right. There's the correct amount of loading on the fingermagoops. And alright, so just trying to find the bit. So, is that the one? Offside rear, yeah. So I tried to make it at the end of the last video and I said I couldn't find the seals in here. It turns out I'm the one at fault there. I found it, it's right here. So this is what the early seal housing looks like. It's a different to the later ones. They're not here nearby, but the later ones are a bit more finessed by this. But so this is the seal kind of housing. You've got a bit of metal, and you've got a seal that is made of felt that sits inside of it, and then you got the plate. So we're actually gonna swap the felt seal with a modern seal. Needs a bit more persuasion now because I've been fluffing with it with that more modern seal. Power, my pleasure, my pain, baby. Pop that like that. Oh, stick it in there like sticky glue. You know, lay grease up in here. Lay a gasket onto it. Now we need to work out where the banjo was going. So the banjo is this thing. Literally looks like a banjo. So that's the bottom. This is the near side. So this is the off side. So this is the, so that's the bottom. That sits like that. And then the, let it slide on down. And hopefully, if we carefully pop it in. I've already bought some new shims just in case we need to set it more, but I'm really hoping by the look of the engine and things like that, it hasn't done many miles since it was last set. So we might have an easy job. I'm really hoping so because I want this bit to be easy so we can jump to the next bit. Right, so, here we go. Lined up. And now we got it sort of lined up. We need to lift it up and kind of squeeze it together. Because I remember this was an absolute pain to get together. So got to figure out a way of plonking this together. Right, whilst that's all drying, I can't actually carry on with it until some machining blue turns up so I can check the mesh of the gears on the differential. I have a feeling, well, I'm hoping it's going to be all right actually, because if you remember with this car, everything on it, except for the clutch actually, everything seemed to have limited amounts of wear, but it was all just really grubby. So I'm hoping the mesh is a good kind of level of meshiness on the diff. Anyway, before we get onto that, we're going to actually look at the meat of this video, and that is the back plates, machining these back plates. Right, so what do we need to do? Luckily for us, like everything, there's a lot of documentation on this kind of stuff. People have done this before. There are 2 links below to the cutaway of this, which was actually sent to me by Paul, who I bought these off. This is by Alistair, who actually has also done a helpful video on things to do to this, to machine it, which is very helpful because it saves us finding all of these kind of things that we need to do whilst we're making it. It speeds it up basically. The link to this document and also the video that includes this is below. But yeah, because I've watched that video, I'm not going to put this on yet. I'm actually first going to machine down flat this kind of edge where the actual caliper needs to sit, because that needs to be nice and square for it to sit nicely, and also machine flat the top. Machine that and machine that. That's the first things we're going to do before we even think about all the measurements. We're going to do that. Let's go and do that. Right. You remember just before Christmas, I actually got with the set from the other kind of like bits box that I bought off Facebook Marketplace, a couple of rear back plates, but I already started machining and doing these, so it didn't make sense to use these. However, I think the steel ones overall are just better. They feel more substantial, even though the aluminium ones are thicker. They're about the same weight. I don't see much point in using these, but I'm on these now, so I'm still gonna go through it. And if these don't quite work well, at least I've got these to fall back on. And if I don't, then I'll either use these for another project or pass them on, but I'm likely gonna keep them for spares. But it's a good thing because I'm able to do the measurements and figure out, you know, like, you know, what I'm able to do. There's a lot of play and there's a lot of adjustment in this. Well, there's one adjuster, which is actually the, I think it's called a clamshell, affectionately called the clamshell, which is this adjustable part here, and you open that up. The actual cylinder moves backwards and forwards as well, to be able to kind of push this out. So the idea is it pushes against the drum that way, and then it pushes itself backwards and pushes against the drum with this pad around the back. It's all kind of like quite loose and self-centering and stuff. So there's quite a bit of play here and there. So it's quite lenient on dimensions. But I've got all of the dimensions are matching to what I know. The next thing I need to do, I think the only thing that I actually need to drill left is the parts for the beehive springs. These are the springs that kind of just kind of hold the pads in place. I don't know. These are the standoffs that the split pins are gonna fit through. Reasonably strong. Maybe we could get away with one of these ones. Hey! Pop it in. Oh yeah, baby. Pop an older boot on the back. I don't seem to have a new one, so this old one's gonna do. Unfortunately, there is a final thing that we need to do, and that is kind of free up the casting. So I've already done this. You can see that the brake drum sits quite snugly in there, but what I've done is I've freed up this chunky bit. It was mentioned by the bracket factory who's already actually done this when I was doing a short on Facebook. This is going to be a problem, and I was kind of planning for it to be a problem, and what I was going to do is actually take the back of the disc brake off, but I think it's probably better tackling it before we could jump in. So this one isn't done already. It's the full fat casting, and if I put the drum in, you'll see it doesn't actually fit. There's a big old gap, and that is going to be a problem because that is when it's all bolted up, it's going to chafe on the back plate. So got to take it apart again. Cylinder, let's pop it on the lathe, which is approximately 5mm, which is currently 7, so it needs to go down to 5. So this casting is not straight in the slightest. We're taking about 2mm off the side of the perimeter, and as you can see, there's a bit of play, which is good because this is obviously spinning with that. But yeah, nice. I've taken off all the bits of it now, so we're going to put it on. I've taken all the bits off so we can kind of like just keep on fiddling around with it. But we're just going to put all of the washers in. One thing I don't think I've shot actually that much of is how flat the back of this needs to be to butt up against that. I actually had to open up the internal hole as well. I didn't shoot that, but I had to open it up a couple of millimeters because the actual skirt around this was stopping it from sitting flat on the back. And it's just, there's a lot of faffing. There's lots of bits and bobs. So be aware if you want to tackle this. It's not just a bolt on and forget about it. So in order to make it a very flat connection to the actual back plate of the axle, I've had to open this up 2mm on each of these to be able to account for the skirt, the raised edge on the inside. So that's one thing. I didn't shoot that. So these are the hubs. Well, they're one of the hubs that were in the bits box. I've just cleaned them up a bit and I've got dirty hands now. But yeah, so we're going to be doing the same as in the front. So we're going to be using new seals and new sealed bearings. Technically don't need the seals and the sealed bearings, but maybe I'll take the seals off the sealed bearings so we've got more of a pool of goo or something like that. So I'm just going to remember which way it needs to go in. So I'm going to put the seals in. These are just modern seals. You can get them from the Austin 7 workshop, as well as the seal bearings, of course. So I'm just going to push those into it, and we'll pop these in, like so. We then bolt these bad boys onto the diff that's over there, then we pop the gasket on, and then we plop the front on, like so, which will have the keyway, which will hold to the drive shaft, or the prop shaft, or whatever it is. So yeah, okie dokie, that's not ruin it. I'm going to put the hub on before I put all the brake assembly stuff on, just in case I need to dismantle it again, because this is still rubbing on the back plate. So okay, so the washers that I've put on here are binding with it. Now, we've got a tab washer. There's actually a hole around the back of this that this sits in, and then you kind of pop it like that. So you can tighten this up and then put that around the nut when you got it to the tidy point. But we won't push that down until we're all happy with everything. Give it a tap. Okay, so what do we know? Well, we know that this needs to go further inwards. It's deep enough, but it's needs a bit more space off the sides. Basically, there's an extra lip here that is wider. I didn't think it was needing to go that far back, but it does. So I need to account for this in the outside of that. Basically, I'm just going to make this as thin as I possibly could get away with. So now we've got it fitted without the washers, much more space, and there is more space around here. Okay, Bluminex, so we need to take actually the front of this off as well, because it doesn't go back far enough. But then apart from the front not going in, that's pretty good. So off we come again. This brake drum on. The drum, oh come on, it's fitting nicely now. There's about a millimetre of gap there. It could be larger, possibly. I might just get a file and kind of file the top of that off a little bit more, but we're looking good. No, I'm not gonna. Oh no, I'm gonna have to. Is it gonna clear the brake cylinder? Yeah, it's well out. Oh no. Oh dear. So we've got more work to do. Now I've got a few options of how to solve this, and I'm going to explain why I've gone for the one I've gone for. First off, you know, this mistake's been there the whole time, but we could potentially make this surface go in about 1 centimetre, but then we've already done the milling on the back to be able to make the shoe fit, so it'll be as loose as a goose. The other option, we could machine the back of this. So we could machine this thinner, but it's cast and I'm not sure how I feel about that. So I'm going for the other option, which is machining the top of the cylinder. Now this is a common thing, but if you look at it, so the thickness of this metal is, this whole thing doesn't get wider. This is just thicker here. So we're just going to take about 1 millimetre off the top. And this part, which is literally a shroud, we're going to try and knock it in because this is sticking really proud. I have read on certain places that this is a problem, and this is how some people have solved it. So let's give it a go. I think this is honestly the safest, the bestest way of doing it. Here's a comparison of a slightly older one. I'm not going to use this. The actual housing of this is actually quite a bit taller compared to where it sits. It's nearly the same height now. So we're the same height as the older version, but it's slightly flattened. Yeah, that'll do. This in. There, that goes there. I've done all of the changes to the other side. I can't find another one of the castle nuts. I've ordered one, so I've ordered a few actually, just because they just disappear. So yeah, that's good. I'm just going to pop it together and bolt the wheels on. And today, going to call it quits, I reckon. I'm going for 16-inch wheels, but I haven't got tyres on them yet, so going to just plonk these snazzy old 17s on for now, just to roll it around. Cool. Oh, yes. Look at that. That's quite good, that. That's very good. Awesome. Finally, it is sat on 4 wheels and the brakes are all done. That took longer than I expected. Very much the same as the front ones, but it is what it is. In the next video, before I start plumbing in the pipes into the brakes and stuff, I'm going to put the engine in as it is and also get the steering rack sorted so we know where the brake pedal is going. It's going to likely be an ongoing process and I'll be talking about it over on Patreon beforehand, so if you want to support this project and all of the others, then go and check it out over there because it helps immensely. Anyway, until next time, I'm Sam, this is the Aussie 7 and I'll see you next time. Toodaloo!